Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. Today I'm bringing you another beginner's guide, and that, as I'm sure you've already seen from the title, and that's the reason you clicked on the video, but that is the best dinos to tame on the island. So the idea of this is to give you beginners a general idea of the kind of dinos you should be taming on each map, because some dinos that may be good for one map may not be any good for another map. So I really hope this helps some of you guys out. Just really quickly, take a look at this. God damn. I never in a million years thought I'd make it this far, so thank you so much to each and every one of you. I'm honestly amazed. At the moment, I'm just trying to hold out for Genesis 2. As soon as that comes out, I'm going to be making a PvP series, I'm going to be clapping people, I'll be making guides for Genesis 2, I can't wait. Until then, I'm going to try and keep pumping out all these beginners guides, because of all the new people playing Ark at the moment. But anyways, it's enough of me talking, let's get into the video. Number 1. So on most maps on Ark, cement and paste isn't usually too difficult to get. Like, there's usually a few spots you can get it. There's not usually an abundance of it, but you can normally get some if you want to. Now I find that the island is definitely one of the worst maps for cement and paste, because there's only a few dam spawns, and there's not normally a lot of dams in these spawns. So if you get yourself a beetle bufo, you can take him into the swamp. Once you're in the swamp, you can kill something and let it start to rot. Then all the bugs will be attracted to this rotting corpse. Once they're all there, you can kill the bugs with the bees of bufo and harvest them, and that is going to give you an endless supply of cement and paste, whilst everyone else is fighting for the dams. Number 2. Now I'm going to introduce these two as a pair, because despite the questionable difficulties, they do make a good couple. The RG is also a great early game dino anyway, so RGs can be leveled up to give you different benefits. You could level up your RG purely in weight with a little bit of stamina to make a weight RG. RGs tend to have a decent weight anyway, but this just allows you to carry a lot of things. A good leveled RG also could be pretty strong, so you could level him in health and melee damage if you want to. Your Yankee, you only need to level in melee damage, because unfortunately for this guy, he's only going to be used for one thing. So the reason these guys go so well together is because obviously the RG can carry the Yankee, and on the island, there's not loads of great metal spots unless you go to the big mountains, whereas a lot of maps will have just metal scattered around everywhere. So for this reason on the island, the RG and the Yankee is going to be your friend, because you can make long trips with the two to get yourself a big stack of metal. Number 3. So the island, believe it or not, is full of islands. Now most of these are small, dense forest islands, and there's obviously water separating all these islands. So potentially you're going to be in water a lot of the time. For this reason, I'd recommend getting yourself a mount that's good in water as well as on the land. A few examples of this are the Baryonyx, the Spino, and the Sarco. Now the reason for this is you want to be ready for any situation. So the island can be quite brutal, and no matter where you spawn, there's always things that's going to kill you. Or things that would have killed you until you followed this tip. So now that we have a strong water tame, we can fight back whilst we're in the water. Or they're good swimmers, so we can use that to get away from different situations. And although alpha raptors are very common on the island, it's not necessarily just that, it can be lots of different things. There are Xenos, Rexes, so the fact that we're being versatile and adapting to the map gives us a much better chance of survival. Number 4. Now, I know I bring them up in every tip video, but you gotta love these guys. On the island especially, moss chops are everywhere. In case you didn't know, in order to tame the moss chops, you have to feed it a certain type of food that it requests. Now some of these requests can be stupid, especially really early game if they ask for prime fish meat or something like that. But a lot of the time it's something simple like berries or honey. So every time you pass the moss chops, I always believe it's worth checking it. I always take a look at its level and what it wants to tame. Now these guys are extremely strong for what they are and for how easy they are to tame. They're not very fast, but early game they're going to have more weight than you. And you don't want to be travelling too far early game. You can just bring them along with you as your pack mule to carry things for you and to protect you if you get in any danger. Furthermore, if it's early game, I normally tame a low level one even if I see it, because then if you get into big trouble, like an alpha raptor comes out of nowhere, you can just suicide that moss chop so that you can get away. You've also got to remember that early game, you're going to be wanting to get a lot of fibre as well as a lot of berries to eat and Fanaka berries, and these guys are excellent at harvesting just that. Number 5. Now really guys, you should have a Pteranodon for every map, and the island is definitely no exception, but maybe for different reasons. See, there's certain maps that are very vertical and you may need a flyer to get to certain areas, but the island is very flat. However, we've already established that it's quite dangerous on the ground in the island, and where a lot of it's dense forest, things can sneak up out of nowhere. you can also very easily lose track of where you're going and where you are. So it's a good idea to have a quick flyer like a Pteranodon. They're a lot more handy if you've got a certain destination in mind, because you can just cut all the rough terrain off below you and fly straight to that destination and get back. And if you need to fly the whole map for something, you don't really want to be taking an RG because it's going to take you a very long time. Furthermore, like I said, sometimes it's nice just getting off the ground and above the treetops. Especially if you've just started, you can then look out for points of interest or places that you might want to explore. Number 6. So, the ocean in the island plays a vital role on your success on the map. That's because if you play on a PvP server, there's lots of underwater caves where most of the bases will be. There's also 2 very good loot caves underwater. Now, this is not for the faint-hearted, and I wouldn't recommend it if you've just started the game. It's very dangerous and it can be very risky. I've also made a guide on how to survive in the ocean, so I'll put that in the top right of your screen now. But when you first start, I would say a Basilosaurus is your safest bet. They're immune to the stun of the Nidaria, as well as the stun of the Electrophocus. These in general are probably your worst enemies when you're in the deep ocean, so this completely eliminates that, and it makes travelling in the ocean a lot safer. Now you need to remember that they're not fast, so it's going to be a long trip, but Basilosauruses are very easy to tame, and if you can nab yourself a high level one, they can be extremely powerful. You can level them up pretty good melee damage and a lot of health, so they're an absolute tank. As well as the underwater caves on the island, there's also random loot containers spawned all around the edge of the ocean. And again, these can hold very good items as well as very good blueprints. So if you're going to be successful in this map, you need to face your fears and get in the water. Number 7. With the dense forests on the island, just flying around everywhere can get a bit boring and you're going to miss a lot. So if you've just started, I'd recommend trying to tame yourself a Gallimimus. I'll put my 1 minute taming guide for the Gallimimus in the top right now. So, these are the fastest land dinos on the island, and as you can see, they don't hang about. On top of that, their saddle can also hold 3 players. So, if you and your friends have just started, you can all go and explore together on one Gallimimus. You don't need to tame loads of dinos. And I guarantee to you, this kind of situation, if you're playing with a couple of other friends and there's 3 of you on this thing, you're going to have a seriously fun time on Ark. Just be careful though, because they do take full damage, and if you're not careful, you're going to kill it. Number 8. Now, Ark nowadays is all about the meta. It's all about leveling up quick, getting to level 100 as soon as you can. And if you're going to do that, one of the best ways in the game is to run the Swamp Cave with a Megatherium. Now, despite the fact that Megatheriums look really cool, they're also very strong, especially when they kill bugs because they'll gain an additional damage buff. Now, the Swamp Caves are packed full of bugs. Killing hundreds of these high level bugs levels you up real quick. And there's also some good loot to be found in these caves. So if you can do a run of the Swamp Cave with a Megatherium, you're setting yourself up for success. I hope this has helped some of you out. I'm obviously going to be doing this for every map, so if you don't want to miss that, as well as more beginners guides, some PvP, and more intricate tips and guide videos, then consider hitting that subscribe button. It's a nice place to be. But for now, this has been what dinos you need to tame on the island. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.